be in such a young group. As I always say, young groups have the potential of changing the face of the world. And wishing all of you a very happy new year. I hope it's not too late, although it's the 20th day in the year, but I hope it's okay, right? So wish you a very, very happy new year. To start this year, we thought we'll do something unconventional. Rather than sitting on the Vyasasana and talking to you like a mentor or a guide, I thought I'll come within you and talk like a friend. So I mean, this should be a very interactive session, right? After all, we are accustomed to dates. I hope all of you have taken the New Year resolutions on the 1st and must have broken them before the 10th, right? We are accustomed to dates. But that's how we are being brought up. If you remember your childhood days, if you want some toys or anything of that sort, what would your parents say? Let it be a gift on your birthday, or New Year, or Christmas, or Diwali. That's how it works, right? So for this also we thought of resetting the game. And I think we've been successful in keeping this as a very suspense sort of a topic, because for the last 2-3 days I was in the temple and many people met me and asked me, what is this topic all about? Resetting the game, what are you trying to say, which game? I've been reading a lot of books in the past few years, a lot of spiritual books, a lot of science-based books, and I always started using the word game for life. And then I realized, why am I using the word game for life? In fact, in my interactions also, I started using this word. And then people started asking me, why do you use the word game for life? I always believe life is a game. So I thought, why not convert that into a talk? So this is what the history of this topic is all about. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Life is not a game. Life is so serious, life is full of adventures and full of so many aspects. It's not at all a game. Sounds like a fantasy, as if I'm going to talk about a world which is full of fantasies, different from what you see, where you live, right? Or am I going to take you on a journey of a game where you are the main character of that game and you become a part of that game and then somebody plays around with that? No. Is life a game, is the question. Whenever we have a question, we should look or search for the answers to that question from various perspectives. Because one perspective, I believe, is never enough to answer a question. It always leads to a lot of doubts. So I thought we'll look into it from this perspective of psychology, from the perspective of technology, from the perspective of science, and of course, the spirituality. So looking at a particular thing from various perspectives is very, very important. Otherwise, there is always a scope for leaving doubts. And these are the four, the most prominent perspectives through which anyone sees the world or any subject, right? Looking at it from the psychological point of view, psychology is nothing but study of behaviors, right? There are a lot of scientists who've been working on this, who've been understanding the patterns of thinking, how people think, why they think the way they think so, what makes them think so, a lot of such researchers. They have gone down to prove that we're actually trapped in our own thinking, in our own mindsets. We're all trapped in our own way of thinking, trapped in our own way of relating to people, right? We are not victims of the world we see, we are the victims of the way we see the world. And in fact, one of the psychologists went on to say that he went on to use the word game. So I picked up the word game from there. This is one of the very famous psychologists, if you can read this name. This name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He is a psychologist who's been working on his researches for the last 40 years, and he has published a lot of papers and books on this subject. And he says that if you change the way you work, if you change the way you think, you can actually reset the game of life. Okay? Dr. Viktor Frankl, if you know him, he has written a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He is a survivor of a concentration camp in the times of Hitler. He himself was a part of the concentration camp. And he has seen people who, every minute there was uncertain. In those camps, everything was uncertain. If you fall sick, there was no medicines given to you. Simply you were put into a chamber and burnt into ashes. Because they were slaves. In those conditions, how people survived? What was the motive? What was the motivation behind they being just alive? That is what he studied in that camp. Unfortunately, he came out alive and he wrote that book. He himself is a doctor. He also went on to prove that life is just a game of mind, nothing else. Scientific perspective. It was not difficult to find this. In fact, there is a scientist, a mathematician, who has actually quoted in his paper that we are trapped in a programmed world. This is the word used directly by him. We are trapped in a programmed world, in a game. And in fact, the movie like Matrix is also a derivative from this publication, right? Which says that there is something else going on in some other world and we are just playing like puppets. Technological. Your environment, the gadgets around you, the fitness bands, the mobile phones, the Wi-Fi and this Fi and that Fi, they are also a trap. They are also playing game with you. If you don't know, this is the latest technology which has come up, which is called as digital twins. I hope you must have read that. This is a very recent thing. And this is being widely used in various industries, especially the marketing industry. I'll tell you a very simple example. You try to buy a particular product on any of the portal of online purchasing, right? You just look into that product and don't buy it. For the next 10-20 days, all the advertisements which you get on all social media portals, which is Facebook, Instagram, even WhatsApp at times, those ads will be flashed. Not just on your portal. In fact, if in that portal you have mentioned your family members, your friends, even on those portals it will be flashed, and it will kind of give a recommendation for them that this guy is looking for this product, please gift it. This is a digital twin of your desires. The technology understands what you are looking for, what you desire for. It makes a twin of your desires and publishes on the social media. This is also a game. So this is also a remote which is being controlling the game of your life. The spiritual. This always excites me. The spiritual aspect gives you a wider understanding of what life is all about. So we've seen technological, we've seen psychological, and we'll see the scientific part. The spiritual part tells you, if you read our own scriptures, our own text, it tells you not just you're in a game, but the complexity of the levels of the game. 84 lakh species. A circle of life and death, life and death, life and death. It's a vicious circle. It actually says that. And this 84 lakh is a magical number. It is not just mentioned in the Indian scriptures. It is mentioned in the Bible, it is mentioned in the Quran, it is mentioned in almost all the scriptures available on the surface of the earth. The whole world is enchanted by 3 modes of material nature. This is very clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, which tells you that it's being controlled by someone else. So you are in a game. Agreed? So life is a game. Are we on the same page? Do we agree to this? From all perspectives, if you see, it is actually a game. What's the problem? Let it be a game. Game is for enjoyment, it's for entertainment, right? What's the problem there? And if you see, if you are the hero of the game, if you are the central character of the game, there's no problem at all. Let it be a game. But there is a problem. Are you the protagonist of the game? Now, protagonist means the central character. A person around whom the entire story revolves. If I am writing an autobiography, that means I am the protagonist. If I'm writing a biography of somebody, that the person is the protagonist. And if we have a story, in your movies, hero is the protagonist. Because all the story surrounds him or revolves around him. But are you the protagonist of your own life? If you are the protagonist, still it is okay. It's perfectly fine. But if you are not, then there is a problem. So let's see whether we are the protagonist or not. Like a video game is controlled by a remote outside the game, even our lives, the game of our life, is controlled outside our own domain, outside us. A bigger problem. Had it been one remote, one person playing it, things would have been okay. Here we have multiple remotes. The Almighty, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the supreme mechanism which works in the universe, which we read in our scriptures and all the other religions, there is a control there. So that means there is one remote there, which has already given you some traits in your character. Your character is defined. You come to this world, behave in a particular way, take those karmic reactions. So that is one control. Your mind itself is controlling you. Your sense gratifications, your urge, your desires to fulfill a certain thing at some time, whether it is your tongue, whether it is your various parts of the body, whether it is going around the world, all these desires are being controlled by your mind. The third remote, the environment. The environment is also shaping up the game which you are playing. In fact, the game which we are being played on. And this also is a remote. Relationships. Many people are playing games with you, and you are also playing games with those lives, right? These are only 4 which I have shown. There are multiple, there are numerous remotes which are operating you. That becomes a problem. So life is a game where we are not the protagonists. There are multiple controllers. There are unlimited and unimaginable levels, and it may never end. If it would end, it's still okay. That okay, the game is being played, it will get over and things will be okay. It doesn't get over. The game doesn't get over. I was listening to one of the Nobel laureates who was talking in Bhaktivedanta Institute when he came. He said the biggest sigh of relief for me was when I read the Bhagavad Gita, and the verse which I read was, this life is eternal. And this particular life which I am living right now, which all of us are living right now and sharing the same time, is just one episode. So that was a sigh of relief. But if you see from the game's perspective, it's not a sigh of relief. It's a problem. It is not going to get over. We're going to be pushed into the game time and again. Right? Because it is a vicious circle. As I said, 84 lakh species, and again we go into that. This life, next life, millions of life, trillions of life, the game is not going to get over. And Krishna confirms that. He very clearly confirms in the Bhagavad Gita. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us cease to be. Matlab, we are in an eternal game. We are being played around. He further confirms, all men are forced to act helplessly, according to the impulses born of modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. What is going on? We are in a game, we have no control over it. The remotes are everywhere. It's eternal. How do we get out of this? How do we reset the game? And the game is not going to get over. The worst part. Difficult, right? Bringing all of you in anxiety. But there is a sigh of relief. There is a sigh of relief. Even in this condition where you have a very little control over things, and it is not going to get over, and it's going to get worse, still you have something called as a free will. Now if you use this free will to differentiate between what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, what is to be done and what is not to be done, still things can be better. This is also confirmed. So from this you get a sigh of relief that your control supersedes all other controls. What a sigh of relief this is. There are multiple remotes all over, you are being played on, but Your control supersedes all other controls. So if you are determined, if you know the right directions, and if you try to move your life in those directions, all other remotes are inactive. What a sigh of relief this is. This is the best part of life. Had this not been there, that would mean you are always in that circle, you are pushed around, you are played around, you are tortured, whatever is being done on you, there's no control. But this particular thing, when someone tells you that your remote is the master remote, all other remotes are slaves. If your remote operates properly, no other remote will be able to work. The work is done, right? So your remote, your mindset is the master remote of your own life. Agreed? Confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. I have explained to you most confidential and of all the knowledge. Deliberate on this fully and then. Read this line very, very carefully. This is the line which can liberate you from various anxieties. Do what you wish to do, which means there is a free will. Had it been a forced thing, Krishna would have said, this is what I told you, do this. He did not say that. Do what you wish to do. Gives you an element of a free will. Right? Life is all about how you choose to use your free will in every moment. Now what is this free will? You might ask that you have not chosen your parents, you have not chosen to take birth. This free will is little. That's why it has to be kindled very carefully. It's like a spark which you have to kindle. You have to understand things in right perspectives. Then only you can exercise control on this free will. Otherwise, this free will is not utilized. So this is a very special virtue of human life, and very important thing, special virtue of human life, which means out of 84 lakh species, only when you come to the phase of human life, then only you can exercise control on this free will. Otherwise, no. Special virtue of human life, we always have a freedom of choice. You had a choice whether to come to this place or go to some other place. That was a choice you had and a decision you made. Like that, in every moment of your life, you have choices. And you can decide. You may say situations are planned, a part of the game, but responses are not. You may not be able to control the environment, but you have the full control over how you are going to respond and react to the environment. So now we come to a conclusion that yes, we are a part of the game. It's an eternal game, but there is a sigh of relief. There is something called as free will, which we can exercise on ourselves and utilize it to liberate ourselves from this game. If you are going in the right directions, all things are fine. But if you have this attitude, hota hai, chalta hai, duniya hai. This is what I call as the whatever syndrome. If you have this, then there is a problem. Then you must reset your life. And most of the people have this attitude, most of them. This is called as the mindset. It's a small story of an elephant. When the elephant is very young, he's tied with a strong chain to a pole. That elephant tries to pull that chain, break that chain, do whatever is required to break that bondage and move free. But he fails. Why? Because the chains are thicker. He gets into a habit of understanding it that this chain is unbreakable. This is not going to break. Whatever energy I have, whatever powers I have utilized it. This is not going to break. A very fixed and orthodox mindset is set. The elephant grows younger, older, the power increases multifold times. In fact, it's the strongest animal on the planet. Of course, dinosaurs are not here, so he becomes the strongest animal. Even at the point when the chain is as weak as a thread for the elephant doesn't even try to break it when he's older. Even if he pushes his leg just by a small force of 10-20 Newton, that thread would break. But he doesn't even dare to do that. Why? Because it is set in the mind, this is not going to break. This is the attitude of chalta hai, duniya hai, jo hai, theek hai. That should break. If you don't break that attitude, you are going to be here for a very long time. and you will be played around with multiple remotes. This is what I call as the slave mentality or the slave syndrome. The same old thinking will give you the same old results. Until and unless you change your thinking, you will not be able to reset the game. So guys, if the things are not the way they should be, if you're not in the right directions and you've identified the right directions, it's time you reset the game. Sit back, relax, understand what life is all about, understand the various perspectives, understand the right directions, look at what people have done, look at how they have achieved what they have achieved, look at what your desires are, look at what you want, look at what you don't want, understand your behaviors, sit back, relax, and reset. And once you reset, the game is all yours. If you know the rules of the game, you can play the game well. If you don't know the rules of the game, nothing can be done, right? Now, how to reset the game? This is the level we are in. As I said, the spirituality tells you various levels of the game. This is the level we are playing now. We are the level of from the cradle to the grave. We have born in this earth in the last before few years, and probably in next 60, 70, 80, 90 or 100 years, we are going to vanish from the surface. This is the level of the game we are playing. I'll bring it further down to the context of where we people are. We are playing this game, the sub-level. We are at the level of cradle to the career. We have gone through our childhood and now we are going towards our career, or probably most of us are in the career, right? How to reset this game? Let's not think about resetting the entire game initially. At least reset it level by level, because you have to understand the rules of the game before you reset it and start it all over again. This is what we are going through. We are all targeting good education or already in education, and we are targeting good jobs or already in jobs. So this is the level we are in. And these are the essential traits which we deal with every single day. We have the emotional connects with the society, within ourselves, with various relationships. We have occupational, where we are looking for financial stability. We have intellectual understandings, which we expand every day, or we do not expand every day. That depends on how our activities are planned. The physical, you keep yourself fit, you eat every day, you sleep every day, you try to exercise and be in shape. Then the social, of course, the social network which you have, and the spiritual one, which makes you understand the various aspects of life. So that's the level of the game which we are playing, and these are the traits which we are actually dealing with on daily basis, right? Krishna gave a very simple concept to Arjuna. Keep me in the center of all the activities, and the game would go perfectly fine. That's the assurance Krishna gave. Because Arjuna was also in a similar situation where all of us are. If I say, this might, demotivate you. It's a game, it's not going to get over. A little control, a little free will. I don't want to play the game. Let me be played around with. That's what Arjuna also said. But then what did Krishna say? In fact, he chastised him. If you read the second chapter and the part of first chapter, he chastised him. He said, no, that's not the right way. You have to fight. You have to play the game. So you have to be in a game which you cannot win, or you cannot quit. But he gave a very simple solution. If you keep me in the center, the game will go fine. So this is like a power. Like in games you have powers. You have arms and ammunitions to keep you safe. This is a power. But let me talk in the practical aspects of how to reset the game of life. Let me not talk about more of spirituality, but more of practical aspect of life. There is something you need to understand. You need to understand your own self first. Before you reset, before you start the game all over again, you have to understand yourself, right? This is a concept, this is a Japanese concept, and I very strongly believe all the concepts which are around the behaviors of people are all taken from the Indian Vedic scriptures. Ikigai is a reason for being. That's what it means in Japanese. The thing that gets you up in the morning. Sometimes I feel we talk too tall. We talk of higher concepts, we talk of this, we talk of that. Do we have a reason to wake up next morning and do something for our passions? Is the question. If no, there is no point talking tall. मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, मैं वो कर सकता हूँ, मैं ये करता हूँ, मैं यहाँ गया, वहाँ गया. Do you have a reason to wake up tomorrow and do something for this society or for your own self first? That is more important. If you don't have a reason to wake up tomorrow morning passionately, you're missing something in life. You're absolutely missing something in life. The first thing you have to find out is a reason to wake up every single day in the morning, excited, enthusiastic, and passionate about doing something in life. This is the concept of Ikigai. How to do that, I'll tell you. It classifies things into 4 circles. Something you love. Okay? Something the world needs. Something you're paid for. And something you're good at. You should identify these things in your own life. What is it that you love? What is it that the world needs? What is it you're paid for? What is it that you're good at? Something you love and something the world needs. The intersection of these two becomes the mission of your life. Now this IOS activity is also a mission, right? We love doing it and the world needs it. It becomes a mission. The intersection of what the world needs and what you are paid for becomes a vocation. And something which you are paid for and you are good at is nothing but your job. Right? You have particular skills, you are paid for it, you call it a job. And something you love doing and something you are good at is what is the passion. You have to find that. You have to find what you love and what you are good at. And even if you are not good at that particular thing which you love, that's the area of your potential. That's the area which you can explore in your life. So until and unless you know what you want to do, you would never know how to do it. Right? And the intersection of all these 4 is nothing but Ikigai. A reason for you to wake up every morning passionately to do something for your own self. And then there is something marked as 1, 2, 3, 4. That's very important. Now this is the intersection of what you love, what the world needs, and what you're good at. But you're not paid for it. Because this is excluded, right? So this is unpaid. Identify if you're doing some activities like this, refrain from that. Something the world needs, something you love, and something you're paid for, but you're not good at it. Incompetency. Develop that competency. Something you're paid for, something you're good at, and the world also needs it, but you don't love it. So you start disliking those things. And something you're good at, something you love, something you're paid for, but the world doesn't need it. You're creating crap is an unnecessary activity. So from now on, you should identify all these 4 circles in your life, identify the activities which you're involved in, and then decide, do you have an intersection, do you have a reason to wake up every single morning with enthusiasm? Right? This is the concept of Ikigai. Now, one more important thing. When we talk of passion, whenever you ask somebody what are you passionate about, the first thing they do is they talk about their hobbies, their dreams, impractical things. I want to be an astronaut. And what are you doing? MA. I want to work for ISRO. I'll go to space shuttles one day. And what the hell are you doing? I am not interested in studies. It's not going to work. When you choose your passions, when you choose the qualities you want to imbibe in yourself, you have to understand your orientations also. What I mean by that is, now how psychology works is, they understand the behavior patterns of people and then they categorize people in those categories. That this is the category in which this person falls. This is how he's going to behave in certain situations. That is the study of psychology. If I tell you from the spiritual perspective, as I said, spirituality gives you detailed information of a lot of things. Especially when it comes to science and psychology, there is no better resource or source of information than our own text and scriptures. If you see, it is defined here, there are 0.4 million types of humans. This is not the number which identifies the number of people, types of people. 0.4 million types of human beings, which means 0.4 types of behaviors are there. 0.4 million types of behaviors are there in this world. Okay, let's forget about this. 0.4 million behaviors. To study that, probably we need more than 0.4 million psychologists. We don't have that right now. What the psychologists have been doing is, for the past 2400 years ago, there was a scientist called as Hippocrates. He began to recognize and categorize differences in behaviors that seem to follow a pattern. We are discussing to understand our orientations. Until and unless we understand what our behavior patterns are, we will not be able to categorize ourselves into different, we will not be able to choose passions, we will not be able to choose qualities we want to imbibe. So they came up with a concept of, then after him Dr. William Marston theorized that people are motivated by 4 intrinsic drives that direct behavioral patterns. This is called as a DISC concept, a very famous concept in the world of psychology. In fact, when there are selections of people for various forums, in defense, in scientist areas, these are the tests which are done on those people. Gone are those days of only IQs. Even in the Indian exam for JEE and all other things, those patterns have been changed. Now they also check you on not just on IQ but also on EQ, also on other parameters, physiological parameters, right? This is also used in a lot of important positions in the industry, especially the defense industry. Now what this is, a person's internal motor or pace, a person can be either outgoing or reserved. Let me say one thing here, it's not about good or bad. If you're outgoing, it's not that you're good, or if you're reserved, it's not that you're bad. It's all about what you are, and these are all inbuilt traits. A lot of things can be inculcated, of course, but a lot of things are inbuilt. A person may be outgoing right from their childhood also, and may be reserved from the childhood. It's nothing about right or wrong, good or bad. It's just about being a quality. Identify whether you're outgoing or you're reserved. Only you are the best judge for that. If you ask somebody else, maybe he can give his opinion, his or her opinion, but that may not be correct. There is a face which only you know. That is the face which is correct. All other faces are mirror images or maybe wrong reflections. Identify whether you are outgoing or you are reserved. That is the internal pace. A person's external focus and priority. Now either you are task oriented or you are people oriented. So these are the 4 major categories on which a lot of behavior patterns can be understood and people can be categorized. So these are the 4 things. Either you are outgoing or you are reserved internally, and externally either you are people oriented or you are task oriented. If you are an outgoing person and people oriented, you are somebody who is inspiring, who is interesting, who is interactive. Because you are outgoing, matlab you are outspoken, and you are people oriented, matlab you are concerned about people. Right? If you are outgoing and if you are task oriented, you become dominant, driving and doer. Because you are outgoing, but you want the task to be done at the right time, is task oriented. A simple example would be, if I am outgoing and people oriented and I am giving this talk, my intention would be, am I conveying the message to you? And the person who is organizing, or probably who is keeping the time, would be outgoing and task oriented. He'll be dominant. He'll be checking time. Is he completing it on time? That's the difference. If you are task oriented and reserved, you would be cautious, competent and careful. And if you are people oriented and reserved, then you are supportive, steady and stable. All the back end jobs, people who never come in front of the curtain, are people who are supportive, steady and stable. They are reserved, but they are people oriented. Identify these traits in you. This is a very important activity. Because until and unless you know your own orientations, things are not going to smoothen. You will not be able to reset your game. And even if you reset it, you'll again be playing the same things all over again. Make sense? So first thing when you go home, try these two things. Maybe if you want to study more on this, study more on Ikigai and the DISC concepts. Understand your qualities, understand your orientations, and then decide what you wish to do in your life. Having said this, I'm sure you'll be going there, going to your homes and understanding your own selves in a deeper manner. But then there is an enemy of yours who would restrict you from doing all those things. And that is that you're a pro. Now when I say somebody is a pro, that would mean the highest degree of that particular skill set, right? A professional, a pro player. But this is something different. Mike. दूसरा mic. This probably is everybody's story. Listen to it very carefully. It's very interesting.
मैं योगा 1 तारीख से करने वाला था, लेकिन दोस्तों वो पार्टी का हैंगओवर था। फिर सोचा 3 तारीख से शुरू करूंगा। मैं सुबह 4 बजे उठ भी गया था, बस थोड़ा 5 मिनट के लिए सो क्या गया। 6 नहीं, 7 नहीं, सीधा 8 बजे उठा। ये कमबख्त सर्दी का मौसम है। 9 बजे घर से निकलना पड़ा, 10 बजे मीटिंग थी। मैं घर से 9-2 11 हो गया। उस दिन मेरे योगा प्लान के 12 बज गए यार। सोचा 13 से शुरू करता हूँ, लेकिन 13 तो अशुभ होता है ना। अगले दिन 14 को वो ऑफिस में लेट नाइट हुई, तो 15 भी योगा नहीं हो पाया। नेक्स्ट डे सोलापुर से मेरे चाचा आ गए, वो भी पूरे 17 साल बाद। हमने पूरी रात गप्पे मारी। नहीं तो 18 की सुबह भी मेरा योगा पक्का था। अब थोड़ा 19-20 तो हो ही जाता है ना ऐसी चीजों में। 21 किलो कम करना था वजन। 22 साल का होता तो दिन में पूरे 23 घंटे योगा करता। लेकिन 24 दिन बाद प्रभु की कृपा से 25 को संडे मिल गया, तो आराम करना पड़ा। 26 को रिपब्लिक डे का सेलिब्रेशन, 27 की सुबह लूज मोशन और 28 की सुबह सर्दी ने तोड़ दिया था 29 साल का रिकॉर्ड। अब ठंड में योगा करके किसको 30 मार्खा बनना है? बस 2 और दिन। 31 तारीख के बाद दुनिया की कोई भी ताकत मुझे योगा करने से नहीं रोक सकती। हैप्पी न्यू ईयर।
Happens with everyone's life, right? आज नहीं कल, कल नहीं परसों. So the biggest enemy which you have is procrastination. And this is the new definition of tomorrow. A mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation and achievement is stored. Because whatever you have to do is tomorrow. So that's a place where all the treasure is. But we never get there. Because tomorrow is always tomorrow. It never becomes today. So you may delay, but the time will not. That's a warning to you. So procrastination is nothing but the action of ruining your life with no apparent reasons, guys. No apparent reason. There is no reason to procrastinate things. If there is a valid reason, fine. But if it is just going on and you're just delaying things in your life, it's a big problem. The biggest enemy. So low confidence plus distraction makes you a procrastinator. This is what is called in the terms of marketing as couch potatoes. You just sit on a couch and just relax. But today I'm going to tell you a mechanism by which you can overcome procrastination and get into the details of what procrastination actually is. Your story. Let's make it personal. What's your name? Kiran. It's okay if I use your name for the story? So this is Kiran's story. The semester starts, engineering semester, 6 months, 4 subjects. He plans it accordingly. Every 2 months he makes a plan. How easy it is to climb the steps. So easy, right? First 2 months, 1 hour a day. Next 2 months, 2 hours a day. And the last 2 months, to phatte chak denge. And we'll get all the marks. This is how it is planned. So easy, right? But 2 months pass and the graph has to become like this. All the 2 months are shifted to the next 4 months. It reminds me of a joke, when we were in college, we used to discuss this. Okay, time passes so like a flash and nothing happens. And there's one friend of mine who used the dialogue of Sholay. He said, all of us like Gabbar Singh. We take the revolver from Samba and ask him, kitni goliyan isme? 6. In a similar thing, 4 subject और 6 महीने बहुत ना इंसाफी है रे 2 महीने उड़ा दिए. But things doesn't stop here. Again the semester is going, we are roaming around with friends, passing time. This is how the graph becomes. The work is not started. Everything moves into the last 2 months. Kiran becomes very serious. बस अब तो करना ही है. अभी नहीं किया तो नहीं हो पाएगा. He tries. Nothing happens. It is moved to the last month. All the chunk is moved to 1 month. Something which was supposed to be done in 6 months now has to be done in 1 month. Happens? I hope your story is correct. It is actually everyone's story. Things don't stop here. The last week, nothing has started. The graph is shooting up. But as engineers, still we are cool and relaxed. Day before the exam. Happens? This is how even IITians pass. Not just regional colleges like us. Even IITians do this. It's a one-night shot. Right? Is this the right story? Why it happens? Now there are a lot of studies on this also. So I'll share one very interesting study. I loved this. Why it happens? Why these procrastinations happen in everyone's life? So for that, a lot of study has been done on the procrastinator's mind. Okay? Now what I'm going to show you is an MRI scan of a mind. You may or may not be able to understand it because you need a lot of prerequisite and some medical studies to understand that MRI. Still, I'll show you how a non-procrastinator's mind is. This is how it is. In that person's mind, there is a rational decision maker which decides this is right, this is wrong, this is to be done now, this is to be done later. Okay? Is it difficult to understand? This is the simplest MRI possible. Right? Now let's look at a procrastinator's mind. There's a huge difference. There is a rational decision maker, but there is an instant gratification monkey as well. Okay? Understand the difference? In one mind, there is only the rational decision maker, and in the procrastinator's mind, it's an instant gratification monkey. But let me clarify one thing. There's rarely a person in this world who is not a procrastinator. It has to be inculcated. It has to be, very firmly and strongly pushed away. Otherwise, it doesn't go away. Now the conflict starts. The rational decision maker in your mind, which is which has a very high level of wisdom, understands that there is a perfect time to get some work done. Like the case in the semester. There are 6 months, 4 subjects, every day 1 hour. It's very easy going. I'll score good marks. That's what the decision maker would say. But the instant gratification monkey would say, no. Why? Why the hell? Let's relax. And then he steers the wheel. Slowly, to distract. Then what do? Take out your phone, open YouTube, open Facebook, open Instagram, open WhatsApp, and the time is flying. And the rational decision maker can do nothing. Right? Things don't stop here. It takes over completely. And then you involved in a lot of other activities where you're wasting time. You don't even realize you're doing that because the rational decision maker is nowhere in the scene. He has taken a back seat and the monkey is taken over. and then you are gone. And then 6 months, 4 months, 2 months, and the last night. This is how you reach there. This is the reason how procrastination happens. Simple enough? Now this is the instant gratification monkey, which loves easy and fun things. Aram. I meet a lot of people, what do you do on weekends? Weekend is for sleeping. The instant gratification monkey is alive in them. It says, it's only for sleeping. What do you need to do on weekends? After working for 5 days, it is so tiring. I need to relax. And the rational decision maker should say whatever makes sense. If there is an urgency, it understands that urgency. Right? Now there is an overlap sometimes. There are certain activities where your rational decision maker and your instant gratification monkey overlaps. Maybe when you want to roam around with choice, understanding that this time is for roaming and leisure, you're sleeping, you're eating, all these activities are overlapped. No problem at all. Everything is smooth and fine till here. Only the activities on which this monkey takes over is the problem zone, which is called as the dark playground. Now, dark playground is a place where everything is cool and there is no limit of time. How time passes away, you won't even realize. And then you will realize the Einstein's theory of relativity, where he said when things are good, in fact, what he stated, I'll tell you the story. It's very important, very interesting also. When Einstein gave the theory of relativity, there were only 3 people in the world who understood that theory. Only 3 people. Those also were his friends, very close friends. One of the press person came to him and he said, sir, what is your theory of relativity? He said, if there is a theory which you cannot make understand to a layman, that theory is waste. That means that is not a good theory. How he explained it to the reporter was, he said, when you are sitting with your girlfriend, time passes in a flash. And when the same person comes and sits in my lecture, time passes very, very slow. That is the theory of relativity. That's how he explained. So here the theory of relativity works very, very fast. Because you're having fun, you're at leisure in this zone. The problem is when you have to do hard things. But there is a solution. And this solution is being found out after a lot of research. And the solution is the panic monster. When you have a deadline coming up, like it happened in the case of exam, tomorrow is the exam, then your rational decision maker is very active. He kicks off the monkey just because there is a panic. So this panic monster is something which can help you move out from procrastination. There's no other power in this world who can do that. Right? When the panic monster comes and shouts, hey, what the hell are you doing? It's the monkey who is afraid and runs away and vanishes from your brain and makes that brain a non-procrastinator's brain. Right? There are certain tasks which do not require deadlines. Like if you're starting a new company, you are trying to get into some new field or trying to explore education venues, you may not have deadlines, right? What to do in that case? I must remind you of this. These boxes are nothing but the number of weeks in your life if you're alive till the age of 90. But I'm sorry, I don't think any one of us will live to that age. This is not to make you afraid, but that's the reality. So I'm reducing 1/3 of it. Let's say 60 years. This is all you have. No, you've already crossed 2025. So I'm removing the upper 1/3 also. This is all we have. These many weeks. Train your mind, get the milestones correct in your life, and help yourself move out of procrastination. If you don't remind your mind of deadlines, if you don't show it the milestones, things are not going to change. You will be procrastinating things, and that's the biggest hurdle in anyone's life. If you ask me what is the difference between a successful person and a non-successful person, I would say procrastination. Anyone can have dreams. It's free. Anyone can acquire skills. Anyone can do whatever is required to be successful, whatever is required to be expert in that particular domain. But only if a person is able to overcome procrastination, that person can do something. So if you have to reset the game of life, this is the only thing which you have to remove. And of course, understand your orientations, understand your behavior patterns, understand your ikigais. And you can do wonders. Yeah? Just one more video.
For the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything. You thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes.
A very important thing in your life, you should have the sense of urgency. Whenever somebody talks of death, I was always under the impression that the person is trying to make you afraid of life, but that's not the case. Whenever a person starts or tries to tell you about death, he is trying to tell you a sense of urgency. A world where it is full of uncertainties, a world which is full of, you never know what happens next, whether you will take the next breath or not. How can we be so relaxed? We cannot be. So we always have that panic monster ready in our mind. Not in your leisure time, but at least for milestones which are very important in life. Something you want to acquire, something you want to achieve, something you want to be successful in. There is no choice, there are no shortcuts in life. Dreams don't work unless you do. I meet a lot of people who say, we have big dreams, but we are not able to do it. What are the actions that you are taking? That stands very important. This was the tagline which I thought of for this topic. From emotions. All of us are very emotional. And our parents make us much more emotional. मेरा बेटा ही सब कुछ है, ये तो बहुत पढ़ाई करता था, ये करता था, वो करता था, आईटी में नहीं हुआ, ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ. We have a lot of emotions. And even we are very emotional. मैंने इतनी मेहनत की, ये किया, वो किया, things didn't work out. Those are all emotions. Until and unless you move from the world of those emotions to a world of intentions and actions and plans, things are not going to change. You will just be an emotional fool if you are doing that. You're creating a world of your own emotions and you are trapping yourself in another remote. There are already many remotes. There are already many remotes controlling you. So don't create another remote for you. Don't trap yourself in emotions. Let's be practical, let's be bold enough to realize where we stand and what we wish to have in our lives. with the right directions, with the right informations, with the right knowledge, things can change. So from emotions, you have to move towards intentions. So with this, I would like to tell you, please reset the game of your life if you find it is not going in the right direction. Understand your own behaviors, understand what you want to achieve in your lives, and reset your life. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the great lecture. And I have the question like you discuss about how to achieve your goal. But what is our goal? Like many of us like facing the what should be our goal? Like we watch a movie and we wanted to be like that person. Like so everybody is facing that problem. Everybody is watching different movies, different content on the internet, and everybody their goals are changing. They don't even realize it. It is happening subconsciously, right? So what should be our goal? Like many of us like watch different movies and based on that actually their goals are depend upon. So please elaborate on that.
Well, having a goal of life, understanding that requires a lot of wisdom. There can be multiple goals. To answer that in the perspective of students especially. A goal of life, the ultimate goal of life, and short-term goals. It's like small victories lead you to a bigger victory, right? The ultimate goal of life, as I said, is to exit this game of life. The cycles of birth and death, 84 lakh species and this and that. You have to exit this game is the ultimate goal of life, ultimate goal of your soul. Well, to realize that, it won't happen overnight, right? It takes a lot of practice. You have to be in the process. Then only you realize and achieve that goal. But as students, you should have all kinds of goals and deadlines. That's what I was trying to explain when I said you should have deadlines. It's like if you have to go 100 miles, you don't see 100 miles at once. What you see is just the next 10-20 meters. Be prepared for that 10-20 meters. That should be your goal. And then you move in the right directions. That's important. This reminds me of a very important thing which happened in my own life. Now, when I joined my first company, there was a learning wing there. And it was run by army people. They were very strict. And the first class itself was in a convention hall, and the person came, he was retired from the army, and he asked a lot of questions. He said, how many of you wanted to be doctors? Few people raised their hands. How many of you wanted to be sports persons? Few more hands came up. How many of you wanted to be this? Few hands came up. In fact, it happened that when he asked 4 or 5 times this question, different personalities, almost everybody raised their hands. And then he said, I'm extremely sorry to say, my recruitment team has committed a fault and they have recruited you. Because nobody of you wanted to be engineers. You wanted to be sports persons, you want to be doctors, and you're sitting here in my company doing an engineering job. That's the fault of my recruitment team. Right? It's a similar thing which you're asking, right? We have various personalities in our mind, we have role models, we want to do this, we get influenced by small things, and then we change our directions. That is not going to change. That is not going to help you in your life. That is what is going to make you directionless. Then the next question he asked was, God forbid it happens, if you die tomorrow, what is one thing you want your parent to say about you? What is one thing which you want your colleagues to say about you? What is one thing which you want your friends to say about you? He made us answer that question. And the most surprising part was, everybody said, I want my father to say that I was a good son. I want my mother to say I was a good son. I want my friends to say he was a good friend of mine. He was there for me all the time. I want my colleagues to say he was a good colleague. Nobody mentioned that I want people to know me that he was a PhD from this college. He was MTech from this college. He was BTech from this college. You're trying to understand what the point I'm trying to make? Everybody has a goal of being a good person. That's the first goal. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained as a Sattva Guna. That's the first goal which you should achieve. At least come out of bad habits, understand what life is all about, get into the right directions. Step number 1. That's not the ultimate goal. As I said, there's not just one goal which you should keep. You should keep a series of goals which should lead you to the ultimate goal. Right? Be a good person, be a person who is helpful, be a person who is known for his humility, who is known for his good qualities. Step 1. Step 2, understand the wisdoms which are there in our scriptures. The richest scripture in the world is what we have. Understand them, read them, understand what directions are they proposing. Verify them if you wish to through various sources. That's step number 2. And then you will realize what the ultimate goal of life is and how to reset your life. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For doing the work on the time to time, for reducing the delay in the work, and whatever you shown that one day, second day, third day, like that, that is happening to lots of time with me. So how to reduce and how to set my proper on time work can we do? How?
Set right goals, set right timelines, practical timelines. Stretch yourself. Without stretching yourself, things are not going to change. Things will not become easy if you're easy. You have to stretch yourself. Right? If you have a goal of, what are you doing right now?
Doing job.
You're doing a job. Understand what you want to do in your job. Is it the right profile you're into? What do you want to be in the next 5 years? Should be your next target. How to achieve that? What are the skill sets required? Understand that. Set targets to achieve those skill sets. Gone are those days where jobs are from 9 to 5 and Babu type jobs. Now things have changed. You will not get promoted just because you are spending time there. Not going to happen, right? A known reality, a harsh reality. Until unless you grow, until unless you have certifications, until unless you have the skill set to be promoted to the next level, things are not going to change. Understand that. Set marks for that. Within next 6 months, I want to be here. I want to get this skill set. Next 6 months, I want to get this skill set. Then things will change. But you have to stretch. First, clarity of mind is very important. If you don't have a clear mind, it will not happen. Bring the clarity first. Right? And as I said, bringing simplicity in your life is the first step which brings clarity in mind. Simplicity is very complicated, of course, but then simplicity is something which clarifies your mind. Simple living, high thinking is a very old verse, but it is very much valid today. Don't run for unnecessary desires. Have desires which will help you in your career, which will help you in your life. Automatically your mind will transform into a go-getter kind of a machine. Okay?
Thank you.
You mentioned about the DISC part, okay, DISC, but that's depend upon the person to person, that behavior of that person, which is outgoing and reserved. Plus that, what was that?
People-oriented and task-oriented.
Yeah, people-oriented and task-oriented. But that's again depending upon the situations, because it's changed upon the situations. That is, person is changing his nature to sometimes is outgoing, sometimes reserved, and sometimes task-oriented, sometimes people-oriented. Then how to get stable to some point means whether it is D, I, S or C?
See, that is what I said. There are some things which are inbuilt traits which you need to understand your orientation, what you are. It's not that if you are outgoing today, you cannot be reserved tomorrow. Some things can happen in your life which makes you reserved. If I am reserved today, I may become outgoing tomorrow. If I am task-oriented today, if I change the profile or if I wish to change the profile, I can become people-oriented also. So things can change. These things can be inculcated. What are you more comfortable with is important. Because if you're comfortable with something, with what a particular orientation, it's the likelihood of you excelling in those directions are better. Right? You are reserved, you can always be outgoing. You can motivate yourself, inspire yourself from within and say, no, I have to be outgoing now. You can do that. That can be done. But are you comfortable there or are you not comfortable? That's the question. So orient yourself in such a way where you feel the most comfortable thing. That's how it is. If it is inbuilt, it's fine. If it is not, inculcate that. But be comfortable with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.